All right, guys, as if I don't have enough on my plate, we're going to start a new project. None of these parts are part of the project. This is actually my old 007 heads that are done up pretty well. They're 20216s. They're fully ported. They're pretty much ready to rock and roll. And this is a piece of a TPI project that never made it to fruition. The customer and I agreed on a price. We're going to do a set of heads. This base, he gave me 2 sets of runners, a plenum, a throttle body, all to work up. I was about 100 hours or so into the project. He said, I need all my parts back. Oh, no, I'm not paying you. So that isn't going to happen. That's why I still have the parts. But I do have a TPI project coming. Now, it's changed quite a bit from where it originally started. It originally started as a very low mileage 85 Z28. L98, I think they are, or 89, I don't remember. In any case, TPI engine, right? I think they were 220 horsepower stock, something like that, with the 5.7 in them. In any case, he wants it to run way better than stock, but pretty much look stock. When you open the hood, he wants it to look stock. I understand where he's coming from. So what we need to do is build a serious torque monster out of TPI stuff. Now, it originally started as a 350. Just he was going to redo the short block, and we were going to put a set of heads on it. He was going to buy. He wasn't sure which. All right. It's been through, I can't even tell you how many different designs. The first design was a Vortec, small port Vortec heads with a Vortec base. I forget what runners. He's had very good high flow runners. Worked up stock plenum, and he doesn't have a throttle body yet. I have a couple throttle bodies, so I can get him going. And then he couldn't get the Vortec heads, and he couldn't get the Vortec base, and he was losing his mind. So finally he's like, all right, we need a set of heads. And I told him how much I like these 007 heads, that I've done a set, and it's a good design, it's a good casting, it's a very high torque design, and you can get good airflow through it. I've done a couple sets of them. I know what to do with them. So he's like, I like that chamber. It's not quite a Vortec chamber, but it's a nice chamber. We're gonna pop these off the bench, and you guys can look at them while I put you on pause. And I'm going to show you what I did on this base. Is the base completely done? No. If you want to find out where this originally started, I did an in-depth thread. Ported 083 cylinder heads, the TPI project. It's on Speed Talk. It's 24 pages deep, and it's pretty high tech. And even towards the end of it, Chad comes in, and he's building a very high horsepower TPI setup, but he's not using the long runners. It's really interesting what he does. Basically, what he does is he takes a set of 113s and he works them up, and he's driving it around, and it's good, but of course, what happens? You want more. So the next, he's doing a set of super stock heads for it. Man after my own heart, really. So without any further ado, let's take a look. What I did is I flowed the head by itself, and then I took this manifold and I put the clay on it. The clay does not want to stay. What a pain, because there's not a lot of room, if you take a look at how they're designed, there's not a lot for the clay to bite on. So as soon as they start flowing, the clay gives you a hard time. Okay, the heads themselves, if you look on some of my very early videos, I did, 4 or 5 videos on these dark 007s. The only one that you'd probably be interested in is the finalized one, which is where these guys are right now. They should be pretty similar to these flows. In fact, I think I think it topped out at 276. I fiddled with it a little bit. At 0.53, it's 279. Now, I worked on that because I was thinking of putting these on the old work truck. The old work truck has a 0.53 lift cam in it right now. So, yeah, 280 CFM for a work truck is with a 355 is pretty good. The heads that are on it now are 083s. They probably only flow 235 or something like that. They've been on there since the early 90s. So in any case, right, we got a decent number at 300. We top out 274.3 at 500. Right, we got a nice strong swirl curve. Now the TPI engine will probably, depending upon how hot he goes. I mean, as it is, he purchased the 007 heads. They're on their way here. He picked up a nice base. I forget which one he told me he was getting. We'll see it soon enough. And he called my buddy Mark Vortec Pro about doing a short block. So it may get boosted up with some cubes, which would be a huge help. Make it a real torque monster. In any case, by the time we're all said and done, the thing's going to want to kill him every time he touches the gas, pretty much. You know, going to be tough to keep it out of the ditches. But that's half the fun, right, guys? Okay, so we did good as far as our existing flows. It was a 202 with no back cut. Why? Because that's the first valve I found. The ones from the earlier videos had a back cut, so they're going to be a little bit higher in the lower lift ranges. Okay, so what happened when I put the base on? Now, I don't remember getting more than like 235 out of this base. But my memory is not perfect. And the 083s were only about, I think I was getting around 260 out of them. So these flow a little bit more. And this is what we got as far as the base. We actually got a tiny plus at the very lowest lift. And it holds on pretty good. I mean, it's really not bad until about 400. And she starts taking a beating. But still, if that was our only restriction, we would be doing pretty good. Okay? We would definitely make some power out of that. Now, what we're going to do from this point on, the next video I'll make, I'm going to add on the runners to these. Now, I have two sets of runners. I have SLP runners that I cut in half, sectioned, and ported. And I have a set of stockers. The SLPs, you would think, trounce the stockers, but that is not the case. So, we'll do that, but that's not going to be today. I think I'm going to pop these off and give you guys a quick look at the intake and the head. You know what we should do? We should discuss the swirl. Okay? Go back and forth a little bit. Yeah, the base does, it knocks us down in this area, but it actually, you got a plus there, you got a minus there, you got a minus there, you got a minus there. So what's interesting about these is, in reality, what they did is they took the, I don't know exactly what year they came out, you know, let's say 69 DZ 302 cross ram. It was originally made by Offenhauser, I think. They took that design, but they added on these long runners and made it port fuel injected, okay? But it's got the same type of curved runners, right? These curves are relatively steep, okay? So I remember my pitot was long enough to get almost all the way down to the end, and these are high speed right about here. Okay, so we can give it some more area there and calm it down a little bit. But we'll see how that goes. Okay, you can see down the runners, you know, they are I didn't put a smooth finish on them. I was still doing my airspeeds and stuff when this project died. So it's a rough surface, which doesn't seem to hurt it really that much. In fact, I think I seem to remember I did an experiment with a smooth runner, and it was almost identical. Okay, but you see how it's coming. It's coming from around, and then it turns rectangular as it goes through, okay? Now, what I need to do is I need to go from one end of this to the other end with the pitot and see what the airspeeds do. Now, these are nowhere near stock shape, okay? They're quite a bit different than stock shape. If somebody knows what those holes are, I don't know if that's EGR. I don't know what that is. It's not in every runner, I don't think. Is it? Those are, yeah. Oh no, it is on every runner. Okay. I think those are EGR ports. That's what I think they are. But if somebody knows, let me know, because I have to know everything, because I'm just that kind of a pain. Let's flip this over and see what we can see. Okay, it's still a 1204 gasket. If you take a look, it's not even perfectly gasket matched, because it was still in the development phase. These turns, as far as I'm concerned, they actually need extra area in the turns to slow the air down a bit and make it easier for them to turn. If you think that is wrong for a long runner design, you let me know, because part of the problem with a TPI project is usually the runners are the restriction. So we're going to have the highest speed air through the runners, and then it's going to knock down a little bit in the manifold and then knock down again in the heads. In reality, I would like it if it was just the opposite, if it was more like a Victor Jr., right, where it's relatively big and tapers down until you get right to the valve seat. That would be ideal. You can't do that on a TPI, okay? It's not going to happen. Now, they do have, First has a very big TPI system. I think it flows like 300 CFM, but it seems to still peter out at like less than 6,000 RPM. We're going to do some airflow work on this, and we're going to try to figure it out, what we need to do to make this a torque beast and keep it all around. I'm going to guess around 6,000 RPM. We'll know for sure when we get a little bit further into it. In any case, it's got my name all over it because it's not the easiest design to get power out of. Let's take a quick look at that head, and we're going to call it a night. Okay, you guys aren't used to seeing my chambers aren't all covered in blue. Not doing that on these because I know what they look like. They have a pretty good handle on the Dicom. Now this, I can see the chamber isn't completely finished. I could see on the edge of that valve it could use a little more blending. Same with this one. I just grabbed one head and I grabbed some valves, and we did a baseline and then threw the base intake on. Let's take a quick look on the inside, and I'll tell you what I like and what I don't like about these heads. If you look carefully, there is a little bloop still in that bowl. So I obviously used this for testing at one point. Like I said, it's a 202. Does it look like it's got the world's most fabulous valve job? You know, it's relatively thick. I'm sure I could do better than that. But in any case, it gets it done. Now it's just a 45. The exhaust I actually like on these. It's not even polished, right? It doesn't even have a polish on it. I didn't do the exhaust flows, but this little exhaust port with a 1.6 and not a huge amount of work flows like 211, I think it is, without a pipe, and way more than that with a pipe. I think it was 240. It cranks. What's nice about it is it's got a nice deep bowl on that exhaust and a high short side radius, which really is nice. One of the things they did very well on this head was They put high short side radiuses on both. It's designed as a high torque head. I think Chad actually uses this exact head to make certain super stock heads out of. Of course, when he does that, he shrinks the port. He shrinks the port right at the mouth, raises it up, and makes it more of an oval. Now these CC right at 183 cc's right now. Okay, almost 280 with 183 cc's is pretty hot. Okay, just FYI. Okay, nothing fancy. I left the short side radius quite high. Yeah, I made it wider, and I worked on the airspeeds. Remember, when I did these, I was thinking about using them on my truck engine, so I wanted the mid-lift curve really good. And if it died over 500, big deal. It's only got a 533 cam. And it's a truck. I want the mid-lift numbers the best I could. Now, one of the things I don't like about this head is the way they did our pinch, okay? One of these is thin, and the other one is thick due to core shift. Well, I don't know if they're all like that. Maybe just these heads are. But it definitely limits our area. You know what Rob would really like? He'd really like to know how big I made these. So let me get that and put that down for him, and he can see it. All right, guys, some quick math, some quick corner radius. It may not be exactly perfect. I'm beat, and it's a long video already, but it calculates up that pinch should flow 277.7. Think that's by accident? I don't know. Could I get more area out of that pinch? I probably could. But you got to remember where I was working on these. I wanted to put them in my old work truck, and it was going to get a dual plane on it, so kind of a waste. In any case, you know what we should have done? Hold on. Okay, that's all the area we have, unless I goofed something up. 1.9. I know Rob is figuring on a 2.08 minimum cross-sectional area to do what he's got to do. But as we know, if you shape a restriction the right way, you can actually exceed 100% efficiency. But we're not getting into that tonight. I'm hammered. Okay, I want to give you guys a quick look at the short side. Nice and high, nice and wide, works really well. Let's just change the view on this a little bit. Okay, if you take a quick look at that chamber, it looks an awful lot like how I do my Fuelie heads. Not by accident either. Dart did a nice job on the chamber. I like how they did the chamber. Yeah, I change it a little bit, but overall, it's really not that much different. You know, I do my angle on the exhaust there. I change this a little bit, but not a whole lot. I do take some area out of this corner because, believe it or not, you get a lot of flow out of that corner. In any case, almost 19 minutes. Give me your opinion on the TPI project as it sits right now. Now remember, I'm doing this just for information. I will see if I can bolt all this stuff up with the runners and the plenum. I got to take all that stuff apart. I really need to clean it all. What a mess. Because it's been sitting around for quite a few years now. And we'll get some numbers. We'll get some numbers of it all together. Now remember when I did the Speed Talk thread, I was using 083 heads, which didn't flow as well. Okay. These flow quite a bit better. It's a better design head, let's face it. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good night.